Well, it's time for our regular gender reveal segment with Binary Australia spokeswoman Kirralie Smith. Kirralie, great to have you again. Kirralie, this is week 3 of the Deeming versus Pesutto blockbuster defamation trial in the federal court in Melbourne, where, of course, expelled Liberal Moira Deeming is seeking justice after being falsely smeared by John Pesutto, the Liberal leader, as a Nazi associate. It's pretty clear from week 2 of the trial that Pesutto had it in for Moira right from the start, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. This is way more than just about Nazi associations, which are clearly unfounded and untrue. He doesn't like Moira's stance on biological reality, on women's sex-based rights, and it is clear that he had it in for her. And it was just almost like a comedy last week. It's not funny, but it was ridiculous. You know, one minute he's accusing Angie Jones and Kelly J. Keane of being Nazi sympathisers or Nazis themselves. Then he says they're not. Then he's apologised to them, but it wasn't a real apology because, you know, he had to do it just for the settlement. Like, none of it makes any sense. He looks like, you know, quite ridiculous as more and more comes out in court. And Moira is totally vindicated. She did nothing wrong. She's got no association with Nazis. And John Pesutto needs to apologise and resign. And why the Liberals are putting up with this, you know, absolute clown show is beyond me.
Yeah, it's crazy, Kirralie. I mean, here you've got the Liberal leader of Victoria, the alternative Premier, John Pesutto. His legal defence is that he doesn't want girls and women to have their own private spaces and that you're a weirdo if you have that mainstream view that girls and women should be protective and not have blokes playing in their sport. I mean, how does the Liberal Party come back from this?
I have no idea. You know, he is completely wrong. It is a mainstream. Issue. He is the one on the fringe when it comes to this. His leadership team, they're more scared, at the time of Dan Andrews and of the media than of those who democratically elected Moira to represent them because of her views.
Yeah, well, this is week 3. All I can say is get the popcorn out and watch the last few days of this crazy trial on the YouTube link from the federal court. And we'll, of course, provide updates here on ADH TV. Kirralie, here in New South Wales, the very courageous New South Wales Labor member of the Legislative Council, Greg Donnelly, champion of all the good values, has raised the issue of males playing in women's soccer in the northwest suburbs of Sydney. Now, you've been on about this for ages and it's now been raised in Parliament. I just want to read a quote that Greg gave in his speech. He said, "How is this permitted to happen in plain sight for all to see with no response or corrective action? It's a damning indictment on Northwest Sydney football and Football Australia. It is unfair, it's unreasonable and it's dangerous. It must be stopped, and if they will not do it, governments must step in and bring this farce to an immediate end." They're courageous words in the New South Wales Parliament from a champion of girls and women.
Yeah, and considering he is part of the Labor Party, it's particularly courageous. He has been a great champion in this space for many, many years. And as he said in this speech, it's the 3rd time he's specifically addressed males in female sporting teams. He is just speaking plain sense. This should not be a Labor or Liberal or any other party issue. It's just reality. And women and girls are being unfairly disadvantaged by males being in their sporting fields. It creates an unsafe environment for them as well. And so thank you to Greg Donnelly, who is speaking it as it is in Parliament. They can't say they didn't know. They can't say that this is a fringe issue. It's been throughout the media for the whole year. He specifically referenced flying bats. He went into all the detail of how many games they've won, they've lost none, the huge advantage these males have had in playing the females. And he has also, thankfully, acknowledged the pain and the trauma that this causes female athletes because they have nowhere to go. And until the law changes, gutless wonders that, you know, Football Australia and all of the associations are going to continue to hide behind this, but we want to be inclusive and tolerant and have the diversity where, These men can still play soccer, but they don't have to play in the female sports. If they really want to be inclusive, make the men accept them.
Exactly.
Let the men accept them.
No, exactly. It's quite ironic, Kirralie, down in Victoria, you've got a Liberal leader fighting to allow blokes to play in girls' and women's sport, and you've got a Labor Member of Parliament in New South Wales on the same side as Moira Deeming. Go figure. These are crazy days in Australian political life. Kirralie, you won't be able to see this. You're out in the paddock, but I'm sure you've seen this footage on social media over the last week or so. Very disturbing footage of a child on Good Morning America being sexualised. I'm just going to play it for our viewers, then I'll get your reaction. Now, Kirralie, this is shocking stuff. There's a little boy dressed as a girl strutting his stuff on the catwalk in a very sexualised way. What is the LGBTIQA plus political movement up to when it comes to having a small child, a small boy portrayed like this?
Well, it's all in plain sight there, isn't it? There's nothing to be proud of in sexualising children. Never. There's just nothing. There is no exception. There is no circumstance under which it is okay to sexualise a child. And here they are doing it on national television in America, out and proud, not hiding their actual intent. And it's really sickening. And the fact that this is allowed to happen and that very few people are up in arms about it is really disturbing.
Sure is. I think people have got to take a good hard look at what flies under the rainbow flag. Kirralie, that's all we have time for this week. Really appreciate your contribution on Gender Reveal right here on ADH TV. Thank you.
Thanks, Lyle.